when my nights became so complicated. Can't recall my mornings, everything is fading. Maybe this is karma, definition of jading. This stays on my mind, this stays on my mind. Trying to put a mother on my crazy feelings. For 1 minute I'm calling, then the next I'm stripping. No, with somebody new, I swear she don't deserve it. Oh, it's still on my mind. Rolling the way down, not breathe your air. You only can rescue me. This is my breath. If you were mine, if you were mine, I
7 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
Hey guys, please stop by our site and purchase some of our merchandise today. This is not only a way to spread the word about us, but it is a great way to support the channel. JustMeCMB.cc. Come on guys, follow information. Let's go. Hey Mish Mob, and welcome to the Situafuckawation Room. Be sure to hit the like button as you come in. Hey guys, welcome to my channel and welcome to another live presentation. As you guys know, I told you guys last night, today is the day for us to um, premiere our new segment on my channel, which is our Crimetube segment. Every week we will discuss uh, an event that happened that was true crime related, more so than mommy drama related. Just introducing this part of, I guess, myself because most of everything on here that I do on this channel relates back to things that I like, things that I like to talk about, things that I'm interested in, and all of that. So, um, yeah, that's what we're doing. So, um, I hope this will be an added bonus to the channel for you guys as well. I know that I did have several people say that they were interested in true crime type of things. So let's jump over here and see who we have as our intro chat for our premiere tonight. I have Moselle. Hey, love. I haven't seen you here in a while. I'm so happy to see you today. Makeup, hey, and welcome. Lakeisha, welcome. And Shanae, welcome. Thank you guys so much for being here for this, and I hope you enjoy it. Tonight, I am going to, do I want to omit it or not? No, we're going to go ahead and do what we do over here. So let's go ahead and introduce our Mishmob member uh, for this presentation, which is T, Loving and Living Life. Thank you so very much for being a support to the Just Me CMB channel. Now, this will also premiere on my other channel, which is Crime Tube with Just Me CMB. I have shown you guys that channel on more than one occasion, so this will also be here eventually as that channel develops and can hold its own. We will have all of our crime tube stuff over there. But as of today, this is going to be on both of our channels. So, yeah. So let's jump right on into the reaction. So today the channel, or should I say the story that we're covering, is called Killed by Side Chick, the university graduate who was shot to death by fiance's lover. Um I is it this story, I picked it for the first one because I was looking at it for, I don't know, a refresher or something, because I was interested in seeing like the after from this story, and there are some interesting things after the actual story. So that's why I chose this one. Let me go ahead and get the screen set up, guys, so we can jump into our reaction.
Smith was very, very popular, very pretty girl, seemed to have everything in the world going for her.
John 911, where's your emergency? I just walked out my apartment. She's at the bottom of the stairs, head busted up and blood everywhere. Is she conscious? Hey, baby girl. Hello?
Do you still stand by the story that you've never hunted?
The gun that I bought from I had for all of the day I had. I hope you rock hell. Because you took something from me. You had no right to do that. She didn't do anything. You shouldn't even know you.
In January of 2007, Danita's life couldn't be going any better. She was doing great in school, her career was heading in the right direction, she had just gotten a fellowship at the New York Times. But most importantly, her love life was amazing. She was engaged to the love of her life and planning her wedding. Everyone who met them referred to them as the perfect match, a real-life power couple. But all of that changed on January 4th, 2007, when Danita was fired at in close range as she was heading out of her apartment complex. At first, it seemed random, but when the authorities began investigating why someone would take Danita's life, they uncovered the most twisted story of lies, heartbreak, a love triangle, and a deadly obsession. This is the story of Danita Smith, the university graduate who was shot to death by her fiance's lover.
Then the cop followed up and said, do you know anybody who drives a burgundy Ford Explorer?
His exact words were, "Oh my God."
On November 20th, 1981, Danita Smith was born to Cal Vane and Sharon Smith in Charlotte, North Carolina. From the moment she was born, her parents knew she was going to be something special. Her mom described her as a happy child who was very easy to raise. She never caused any trouble and followed the rules. Danita was a smart child, and she showed signs of ambition from when she was very young. She attended West Charlotte High School, then went on to attend North Carolina's Central University in Durham.
Isn't that the same school that what is her name? Shanquilla went to, West Charlotte, or some of the people in her story went to West Charlotte. I do definitely remember that school in
North Carolina, where she majored in English. As she grew older, her ambition only grew. Everyone who came across her while she was in college described her as very intelligent, ambitious, and a hard worker. She knew what she wanted out of life, and she had the work ethic to get it.
Danita was one of the most ambitious people that you've ever met. She was always on the go. She always looked good. Always dressed very tastefully.
Danita was also very friendly. She had a warm smile and an even warmer personality, so naturally she thrived at Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority she joined. At the sorority, she met friends she would develop lifelong bonds with. Everyone loved and adored Danita. You just couldn't help it. She had a way of looking at life that just drew you in. While Danita
The sad thing is, while they are talking about her life story, it's like there is something sinister waiting down the wings for her, and that's what makes the true crime stories for me, um, such a draw.
was a very dedicated student. She had a
But it also makes it sad. Let me just go and throw that out there too.
passion, so when she wasn't being a good student or sorority member, she could be found with her camera, never letting a beautiful moment pass her by without capturing it. Danita loved photography, and whatever she loved, she spent time with, and soon enough, she blossomed as a photographer.
She got very serious about her photography right away, and within a year or so, she was really a top-notch photographer.
While she worked on her photography skills, she joined the student newspaper as a photojournalist. You see, she'd hoped her degree in English and her love for photography would help her in her dream to become a photojournalist.
Very pretty girl, seemed to have everything in the world going for her. She had an interest in journalism.
Once she was done with college, Danita decided to enroll in graduate school because she felt she had more to learn. More college could teach her. She was very focused on the big picture, and according to her friends and family, once she set a goal for herself, she didn't stop until she achieved that goal, and she was well on her way to leaving her dreams. But while she was still an undergrad, Danita joined the school's marching band, and that's when she met a dashing young man named Jeremiah Stroud.
Jameer and Danita met on the campus of North Carolina Central University. They were part of the Sound Machine, which is the marching band at NCCU.
It was one of those meetings that is described as fate. Their connection was instant, and
There was somebody who is a member of that band. It was a guy here recently who was undergoing the entry part of some fraternity and ended up during the hazing process actually being unalive. That just happened here recently. And the band was a part of the, saying goodbye tribute or whatever. That's why I remember that.
they immediately started dating.
They met, I think, in 2000, and they started dating pretty quickly after they met.
Danita on her own was pretty darn awesome and super popular on campus, but with Jeremiah, she was radiant. They quickly became the power couple on campus.
I mean, they had like Michelle and Barack Obama potential, definitely. They were the power couple.
Jeremiah complimented Danita perfectly. He was very smart, just like she was. He was well put together, ambitious, attentive, and Danita couldn't be happier.
He was in Alpha Phi Alpha, very business-oriented, very smart, good grades. Also very professional, well put together.
She often gushed about Jeremiah to her friends and family, describing him as loving, kind, and caring. She gushed about him so often that her friends and family had no choice but to fall in love with him. And when they met him, he lived up to the hype. Danita's mom was one perfect example of how easily Jeremiah won over the people in Danita's life. When Danita's mom first heard of the man that had stolen her daughter's heart and seemed to consume her every thought, she thought he was too good to be true, and like any good mother, she had her worries about him, but all of that disappeared when she met him.
Jameer was head over heels for Danita. She was head over heels. They made a really good couple.
Danita and Jeremiah were together for years, and when they both graduated college and Jeremiah went off to become a police officer and Danita stayed back for her graduate degree, they still continued to date.
He went off to become a police officer, and they continued to date while he was working.
And somehow,
raise your hand if you've hired a nanny, housekeeper, or other caregiver. Let's say
the distance didn't diminish the love they felt for each other, so they were able to make it work.
Danita talked about Jameer all the time, how he was coming to visit one weekend or she was going out to visit him.
In fact, their relationship got more serious. In November 2006, Jeremiah popped the question, and Danita was only too happy to say yes.
She showed that ring everywhere.
Do y'all see a ring?
Kind of always did this and to make sure that she noticed the ring, but she was very, very proud.
At this point, nothing could go wrong for Danita. She was rounding up on her master's program, was engaged to the love of her life, and she had just landed a fellowship with the New York Times, which meant her dreams of becoming a photojournalist were becoming a reality.
Danita was very excited to be selected to be part of the New York Times Student Journalism Institute. She was, I think, the second person from North Carolina Central to attend.
Life was literally perfect for her until it all came crashing down.
Danita Smith was very, very popular, very pretty girl, seemed to have everything in the world going for her.
While Danita was on top of the world, she had no idea that her fiancé, the love of...
No, I wasn't throwing shade. I just can't see. I didn't see it. I mean, maybe it's the way the video, you know how it's not crystal clear, but I mean, because I guess they're using whatever pictures that they could get. So I ain't see it, child. I wasn't trying to be shady though. I mean, I guess he did what he could do.
Of her life was hiding a terrible secret from her, one that would change the course of her life forever. If she had known what Jermier was hiding from her, maybe things would be different.
And that is so sad. Like, I'm sitting here thinking it's always something that a dude do. And it's like most of the time they don't pay for what they do. Like somebody else has to pay the price for their imperfections, let's just say.
She would have dropped it right then and there. She had too much pride. She was too driven and didn't have time for that nonsense or the drama and wouldn't have anything to do with it. She was better than that.
But ignorance wasn't bliss for Danita. In fact, it rained down complete chaos on her life. As of January 2007, Danita was living in the Campus Crossing apartments in Durham. School was about to resume, and Danita was preparing for classes, so she was pretty busy. January 4th, 2007 began like any other day for Danita. Her routine was pretty fixed, and as usual, she was on her way out of the apartment in a hurry to begin her day. However, she never got past the stairs.
Yeah, 911, where's your emergency? The Campus Crossing apartment. The lyric somewhere around here.
It was around 8 a.m. on that day when a maintenance worker who was working around the apartment complex heard the sound of a firearm going off. He quickly got in his car and went towards the direction of the disturbing sound. As he drove into the parking lot of the complex, he saw a young woman running towards the parking lot. He took notice of her because she was following a long route to get to the parking lot, and anyone who lived in the building knows there's a shorter route.
He saw a black female walking kind of fast and had her hands over her mouth.
Once he noticed her, he drove up to her car, a burgundy SUV, to see if she too had heard what he heard. When he drove up next to her car, he saw something even stranger. The young woman was hysterically crying and had a hand over her mouth as if she was in shock.
Boo-hoo crying. That is how he described it. She was very distraught, extremely upset, said she'd heard the gunfire and was trying to make sense out of what happened.
He asked her if she was okay, and she told him no. So he asked her if she had heard what he heard. She told him yes, before explaining that was why.
Hey, Cancer. So, no, you didn't miss too much. The story that we're doing commentary on today is killed by side chick, the university graduate who was shot to death by fiance's lover. So at this moment, we learned about the victim, about her life, what she had going on, and then it moves over into where where the situation is now, which we know that there is a fiance and that there apparently is another woman. And so now they're talking about the day that she was unalive. You said I promise ain't do that serious. She set herself up. I remember this story. Did I say that right, mamas?
You okay? Because she's kind of shaking this and looks a little distraught. And she shakes her head no. He says, did you hear a shot? And she shakes her head yes.
The young woman also told him she lived in the building, so the maintenance told her to go wait in her apartment while he called 911.
The call came in that there had been a gunshot.
On the phone with 911, the maintenance worker described what both he and the young woman had heard. The dispatcher asked if the sound had been followed by a scream, and the man said he hadn't heard any.
Did you hear anybody scream afterwards? No, this young lady that stays over here, she heard it too, and she's like upset and shaking and stuff like this.
But as he turned around to ask the young if she had heard any screams, he realized she had driven off. A few officers responded to the call and actually came to Campus Crossing, but after looking around
why don't you invest in tax liens? This is exactly what the wealthiest 1% are doing
for a while and coming up empty, they cleared the call and drove away.
Officers responded, circled around, spoke with the complainant, and They were able to come up with nothing, so they left the scene and cleared the call.
2 hours after officers were called to Campus Crossing, they were again called back. This time by a different man who had been about to leave his apartment at Campus Crossing when he noticed personal belongings strewn about. As he approached the bottom of the stairs, he noticed a body. From the angle,
That is so sad. She was out there for 2 freaking hours. Mm. I don't recall this, nor do I recall this photo. That's so sad. I watch a lot of true crime here and there. One of my favorite shows is SVU, but I just can never shake the feeling of wishing there was a way that the victim could speak better than how it has to be. I know it's unrealistic, but just thinking she's out here. This lady has come to her demise and she don't know shit about what's going on. She don't know what her man got going on. She knows nothing, but she paid the price. Like I hate that about what it is.
he could tell the person wasn't breathing, so he quickly called 911.
911, where's your emergency? I just
Yep.
woke up my apartment. She's at the bottom of the stairs.
Yep. They're in the Charlotte area, Mecklenburg area. And yeah, um, just sad.
His head busted up and blood everywhere. Is she conscious? Hey, baby girl. Hello?
Once he realized the person wasn't responding, he
You
tried
know what? I don't recall them saying what her position was. So I'm not sure.
to call her by her name, but quickly realized he didn't know it, so he checked her purse. Once they knew who she was, it was pretty easy to figure out that she was a student at NC Central. Authorities notified the school and Danita's parents of the tragic incident. Danita's mom, Sharon, lived in Charlotte, so it would take her a few hours to get to Durham, so she called Sharon's fiancé Jermier, updated him on what she knew, and asked him to go ahead to Durham since he was closer. At the time, authorities had only told Danita's family half of the story. She had fallen down and was unconscious, but they would soon find out the truth. Before Jermier could get to the scene, the paramedics got there and declared her officially dead. There were immediate questions. Was this a random incident, or was Danita targeted? A closer look at the body quickly answered that question. She had been fired at close range, and it had been a single shot. This was not random. The next theory was robbery gone wrong, but a closer look at the scene eliminated that theory. Danita's things, though strewn about and made to look like a robbery, were still intact. Her phone and wallet was still in her purse. This was definitely not a robbery gone wrong. Someone had wanted poor Danita dead. The question was why. As officers and forensic agents worked together to collect evidence from the crime scene, Danita's family and friends began to show up at the scene. Danita's friend, Edith, and her fiancé, Jermier, were first on scene. It wasn't long before they were joined by Danita's mom, Sharon. Once they gathered, they were told the truth of what actually happened. Her loved ones were devastated. It was obvious this tragedy had shattered whatever peace they had in their lives, and they'll never remain the same. With Danita's loved one there, all eyes were on her fiancé. In cases like this, the first person investigators look at is the partner. It doesn't matter whether they had a love story that would give Romeo and Juliet a run for their money, they would still need to eliminate the partner as a suspect before moving on. And investigators were particularly
Y'all, he looks so not wishy-washy, but like he got something to hide to me, just in the pictures.
suspicious of this partner for a number of reasons. One, he was a law enforcement agent. That meant he knew how to handle firearms, and from how perfectly the shot that ended Danita's life was fired, it was obvious whoever it was that did it knew their way around firearms.
You know, make that shot dead center in the back of the head. One typically thinks good marksman.
I mean, it's hard to hit someone in the back of the head with a single gunshot.
And who knew their way around a firearm better than a cop?
Finding that her fiance, is a law enforcement officer, rose an eyebrow.
And what's worse, Jermier's alibi was shaky. He told investigators he had been home sleeping at the time of the incident. He had worked a late-night shift and was sleeping it off at home.
Jameer said on the morning of the murder.
Now, that's another thing I hate about it. If you are at home minding your business, if you are a homebody, if you don't have a big circle of people and you somehow get attached to um, a situation like this, all of a sudden you're a suspect. And if they can't find any other reason, they just keep looking at you, especially if they can't eliminate you because you at home by yourself. Like, damn, I can't be home. That shit is crazy to me.
Actually, he was at home in bed because he had just worked the night before.
Now, because he was alone, investigators had no way of confirming that he was telling the truth. But Jermier's shaky alibi soon took the back seat as investigators landed their first lead in the case, only a few hours after Danita's life was taken. The previous 911 call that was made was brought to the investigators' attention. The theory was that the calls were connected.
Then the cop followed up and said, do you know anybody who drives a burgundy Ford Explorer?
His exact words were, "Oh my God."
Once investigators learned of the previous 911 call, they quickly tracked down the maintenance worker to ask him some follow-up questions. He told them he heard a firearm going off, and when he drove to the direction of the sound, he saw a young African-American woman walking away from the building. He described her as being 5'10", wearing some kind of uniform, and had her hair in a ponytail. But the most important information he gave investigators was that she drove a burgundy SUV. From what he described of the young woman's emotions on that day, investigators initially thought she might have witnessed everything, and they were desperate to track her down to get her side of the story. They didn't make much progress on finding her on that day, so they decided to focus on the most obvious suspect they had at the time, Danita's fiancé, Jermier. They invited him to the station of January 5th, 2007, to answer a few routine questions, and he was very forthcoming. He cooperated with the investigators, telling them everything they needed to know. So they decided to test out information they themselves had just learned. They asked him if he knew anyone who drove a burgundy SUV. Now, investigators didn't expect a response from him. It was just something they were throwing out there to see if it landed, and boy did it land.
Then the cop followed up and said, do you know anybody who drives a burgundy Ford Explorer?
His exact words were, "Oh my God."
Jermier told investigators he did in fact know someone who drove a burgundy SUV, and when investigators gave them the description the maintenance worker gave, Jermier was confident the woman they were looking for was Shannon Crawley.
Mr. Stroud came up with, well, Shannon Crawley had this, female that I know drives a burgundy SUV.
He then told investigators Shannon was just a woman who was obsessed with him.
The initial story that was coming out is that, he didn't really know her that well, but she had been stalking him and I guess maybe somewhat obsessed with him.
He said now that they were talking about it, she had done a few things that he just found odd at the time. He told investigators she had joined his church and had moved right down the street from him.
He said, when she first joined my church, it's no big deal. A lot of people join that church. When she first moved into my neighborhood, no big deal. A lot of people moved in that neighborhood. He said there were all kinds of red flags that you can look back now and see.
But as investigators questioned Jermier further, they realized he had not been telling them the full story of how he came to know Shannon Crawley. And although they didn't know it at the time, Jermier's story would break the case wide open.
Shannon Crawley was a dispatcher for the Guilford County 911.
Shannon and Jermier had...
And then the thing is, dude, just be honest. Like, where do he think he's gonna get by being dishonest with the story? Like, this chick, no matter who she was to you, no matter how you feel about her, your supposed beloved is gone because of this lady, possibly. Why on earth would you not be straight up about it? Because it's gonna come out, especially in a situation like this. Then you're gonna look shady as hell.
Had met in the force and went through their training course together.
Jermier was a Greensboro police officer, so he had to have contact with 911 telecommunicators on a regular basis. And Jermier and Shannon met in a training course.
At first, Shannon was just someone who was going through the same thing Jermier was going through, so he asked for her number. But not long after they met, their relationship changed.
They talked, becoming close friends, and then in September, I believe it was, a relationship turned physical.
He told investigators, though he was seeing Shannon while still in a relationship with Danita, things with Sharon were never that serious. He never paid her any kind of special attention, at least not like he paid Danita.
I never once heard discussion of a date that they went on, you know, like that he planned something that was really fun, or, you know, took her out to dinner or bought her flowers or anything like that. It was more like, well, I've got today off, you've got today off, you know, let's help each other do the laundry, or
Yeah, right. They was doing laundry, all right. And then, just in light of what's being said here, because he didn't plan anything special, the thing is, he can't say that what they did do together wasn't special to her. So it's really sad, but it's like it may not be special to you, but it may be everything to her. And that's really, I guess, where he messed up at.
you know, go shopping.
Jermier told investigators that he ended their relationship a year before when Shannon had gotten pregnant because he was still in love with Danita. Shannon's pregnancy was not in the cards for him, so they both decided to get rid of it. While it was a painful decision for Shannon, for Jermier, it had been a wake-up call. It suddenly dawned on him that if he continued the relationship with Shannon, he would lose Danita, so he ended things. Except for Shannon, it wasn't over, and she wasn't ready to let Jermier go.
She started coming to his church. She actually ended up eventually buying a home in his neighborhood.
From what they learned from Jermier, investigators really wanted to speak to Shannon, so they drove to Greensboro, to her workplace, and sat down with Shannon. According
Ooh, I know she felt shame, baby. I know she felt shame. Another thing is, guys, I don't know how many, but I think she has 2 kids. So all this is going on, and she's got kids. So for her to make that decision, I mean, she really doomed her babies.
to investigators, she was
And this kind of puts you in mind of how the moms we talk about, you know, get to be there. You don't know the life that this young lady lived. So the little time that you gave her could have been everything to her. Or maybe she was getting over somebody and you was there at that time, which is going to give you a special place in her heart, whether you know it or not.
was very polite and cooperative and did not immediately set off any alarm bells. She corroborated Jermier's statement about their relationship, and when they asked her where she had been on January 4th, 2007, she told investigators that her child had been sick that day, so she decided to take him to the doctors, but before long there was improvement, so she called a babysitter and went back to work. Now, because the car that looked exactly like hers was spotted at the crime scene, investigators asked her if she had ever been to Durham, and she said she had driven through Durham but never into it.
We asked questions like, had you ever been to Durham? She stated that she's been through Durham but never actually to Durham for a specific reason.
They then asked her if she owned a firearm, and she again responded no, but this time she offered a little clarification, saying she hated firearms, so she would never own one. So they asked her if she thought Jermier would do something like that. Shannon told investigators she didn't think Jermier was capable of it.
I asked her, did she think Jameer was capable of killing Danita? And she said no. I asked, are you afraid of Jameer? She said no.
But as investigators were about to leave Shannon's job, someone caught their attention. A co-worker of Shannon pulled them aside and told them he had sold Shannon a firearm not long ago. This
Now, how he know what they was talking about? And what are the odds that he would tell them that story?
information was certainly interesting to investigators. After all, Shannon had just told them the opposite.
There's nothing wrong with buying the gun. The transaction was perfectly legal, but my point is why lie about it.
After they were done speaking to Shannon, investigators went back to Campus Crossing apartment to speak to the maintenance worker again. They showed him
Ever buy avocado because they're high in unsaturated fats and can lead to unnecessary weight gain due to the high fat content.
I'm telling y'all, generalized
Shannon's picture, and while he wasn't sure it was her, he had a completely different reaction when she was shown a picture of her car. He became absolutely sure that was the car he had seen on that day. Though they still couldn't place Shannon at the scene of the crime, they could place her car there, which was enough to get a warrant to search the car, and when they did, they found their biggest lead yet.
Police and forensics found there was a gunpowder residue on the steering wheel of the car.
But that wasn't all. At this point, the medical examiner's officer had released the result of the autopsy. The firearm that took Danita's life came from a .38 caliber revolver. And guess who had a .38 caliber revolver in their possession?
The individual that sold the gun to Shannon stated that he sold her a .38 caliber revolver.
The more they examined the evidence in Danita's death, the more the evidence pointed to Shannon Crawley. So they were able to obtain a search warrant for Shannon's phone and her home. When they searched Shannon's home, they found nothing. No evidence that she was their suspect. From what they could see of the house, it looked like Shannon was telling the truth. But when they took a look at her phone records told a different story.
She was in Durham the day of the offense and extremely close to the address of the victim's apartment complex.
While Shannon said she had been home in the morning of January 4th, her phone records put her in Durham, mere miles from the apartment complex Danita lived in. Though the evidence pointed to her, everything about her pointed away from her. Shannon was a single mom to 3 kids. She was a dedicated and hard worker, and it didn't seem likely that she'd risk her life as she knew it all because of jealousy or revenge. She had everything to lose, but the facts of the case spoke volumes, so investigators had no choice but to arrest her. So 5 days after Danita's life was brutally snatched, Shannon Crawley, Danita's fiance's mistress, was arrested for the crime. But investigators still weren't satisfied. While the evidence was clear, the motive wasn't. Shannon and Jermier had broken up a year before Danita was murdered. Why would Shannon wait that long to do something, and what set her off? After Shannon's arrest, the entire town of Durham was sent into a frenzy. News of the love triangle that turned fatal swept through the small city, and the question on everyone's mind was simple: why? This was the same question investigators had been trying to answer. Why now? Thankfully, their answer came rather quickly after Shannon's arrest. Investigators had found out that Shannon had known about Danita the whole time she'd been with Jermier. He had always been honest with her about the woman in his life. And in addition to that, she knew what Danita looked like. Jermier had told investigators that when he was moving to his new home, Shannon had been there to help him, and he had a framed photo of Danita in his apartment, so she had seen Danita's face. But the final clue, the one that handed investigators the elusive motive they'd been searching for, came when Jermier confessed one more thing to investigators. Though Shannon had known about Danita, she had not known they had gotten engaged. And on Christmas Eve 2006, Jermier and Danita had attended his Christmas Eve church service, the same church Shannon had started attending to be near him. And on that particular day, Shannon had seen Jermier walk hand in hand with Danita as they made their way to their seat. There was no doubt she had seen the big rock on Danita's finger, which investigators theorized had been what had pushed her over the edge. That was their motive. Shannon, who had no previous arrests on her record, was granted bail, so she was allowed to go home and prepare for her trial. But after she was released, Shannon called the investigators. This time, she said she was willing to tell them the whole truth of what happened on January 4th. So months after Danita was murdered, Shannon Crawley, her suspected murderer, walked into the station with her lawyer, ready to tell the truth. Except the truth Shannon told investigators that day was nothing they had ever heard before. The first thing investigators asked Shannon was whether she was sticking by her earlier testament about never owning a firearm if she would like to change it. She told them she had bought the firearm from her colleague, but that she barely had it before she
Hey, Tangela. Yeah, I knew she had 2, but I didn't remember that there were 3. Yeah, we just couldn't see it in the picture, probably.
threw it away.
She thought that even though she had the gun, she wouldn't be capable of firing it had the circumstances arisen.
She said that she was very fearful of guns, so she threw that gun away.
When investigators asked her why she bought the firearm in the first place, Shannon revealed Jermier had been stalking her. She told them she had never stalked Jermier, and it was the other way around. She told investigators that after their breakup, he could not let her go.
He would continuously call me on my cell phone at work. It would interrupt the radio. He would come in communications and stand in the hallway and stare at me.
She said he started harassing her at work, so she thought it was best for her to get a firearm to protect herself and her children.
I decided then it may be a good idea to have something to protect myself because he always has his gun with him. And there wouldn't be anything I could do if he tried to hurt me or my children.
But that wasn't all. Shannon had something shocking to say about how the events of January 4th unfolded.
Shannon told investigators that Jameer Stroud had come to her home in Greensboro and forced her to get in the car and go with him to Durham.
She said Jermier had threatened to hurt her kids if she didn't go with him, so she had no choice but to call in sick and drive to Durham with him.
She stated
I didn't remember this part.
that Jameer lifted up his shirt, showed her with gun, and put his finger over his mouth, telling her to be quiet.
He said, I'll make it real simple. Either your children die or you die for your children. And he knew at that point it wasn't a question. I told him, okay, that was fine. I called into work. I told him that my son had a doctor's appointment and that I would be late.
Shannon told investigators that when they got to Danita's apartment, Jermier went up the stairs alone, but shortly after, she started to hear voices.
He got out, took my keys and my cell phone. He went up the stairs. A few more minutes passed and I heard him.
I had my husband take a photo for me and show me my results, and literally
arguing, him yelling at someone.
So she decided to go up to where the noise was coming from to see what was happening, but according to Shannon, she didn't make it very fat.
I got out of the car, started up the sidewalk to the breezeway, and I heard a gunshot.
And as she was rushing back to her car, Jermier walked past her into the car, so once he tried to get in, she found out the car was locked.
I started to get in the back seat and the door was locked. And I told him, I can't get in, the door is locked. He got out of the driver's seat by sliding up over the back seat and got into the back seat and just told me to get in.
According to Shannon, when Jermier got into the driver's seat before her, that's when he must have left the powder residue on her steering wheel.
She had stated that the gunshot residue that was found on the steering wheel of her vehicle was from where he initially jumped into the driver's seat before crawling into the back seat.
But she wasn't done telling her story yet. She told investigators that as she was about to drive off, the maintenance worker pulled up beside her in his truck.
I got in the driver's seat and I started to leave. I stopped at the black truck and the man asked me if I was all right. I said, shook my head no.
Shannon said she was very relieved that someone else was there so he could help her get away from Jermier.
He said, did you hear a gunshot? I said, yes.
But as she was talking to him, Jermier kept kicking the chair to let her know to keep her mouth shut, so she tried signaling to the maintenance worker with her eyes, but that too didn't work.
He would kick at the chair, but I would continue talking to him. And I'm trying to glance in the back seat, but still trying to look at him, getting him to realize that he was in the back seat.
With nothing else to do, she watched the maintenance worker drive away from her. But while that was a good story, investigators had one question for Shannon. If she knew Jermier did it, why did she lie and say he wasn't violent the first time she was asked? Shannon, however, denied ever saying Jermier was not violent.
Investigator West asking, did you think Jameer was violent? She said no.
I don't recall saying no. He is violent. He's threatened me on numerous occasions.
She then said she waited this long to say something because she was scared Jermier was going to make good on his promise to end her children's life.
I wasn't going to take a chance of him doing anything to them. He knows where I live. He knows where my family lives. He knows how to find me. He knows my routine. He knows where I am all the time.
But when they asked Jermier about Shannon's claims, he seemed to have no idea what Shannon was talking about.
Mr. Stroud continued to maintain his innocence and, basically proclaimed that he was a victim in all of this.
Investigators then asked Shannon to bring them proof of the alleged harassment and stalking. She claimed
that would make me mad. You the victim, but somebody else is gone and lost their life because you was out there doing what you was doing. Like, I don't know. That would make me angry. As a family member of hers, to find out that he said that.
She suffered at Jermier's hands, and she did. Shannon brought tapes after tapes of what she claimed were calls from Jermier threatening her.
No, you know I didn't do anything. You need to tell the truth. Man, I ain't going to jail. And I'm supposed to, for something I didn't do? You gonna kill me too?
But there was one problem with her audio proof. It sounded nothing like Jermier.
We all heard Jameer testify, and he had a pretty deep voice. And whoever this person was on the other end of the phone was had a high-pitched voice.
That was yet another lie investigators felt Shannon spinned in an effort to divert suspicions from herself to Jermier. And yet again, she failed. But she wasn't done yet. Shannon Crawley had more tricks up her sleeve. A few months after Danita was murdered, Shannon called investigators, claiming she had information they might find interesting. This time around,
I just thought about this. She's a dispatcher, so she knows her way around like voice recorders and things of that nature. So she made those things up herself. Wow.
though, Shannon was calling from a hospital bed. When investigators got there, Shannon told them Jermier had forced his way into her home and forcefully had his way with her for hours.
Her dogs were barking because they heard someone outside, and so she went outside to walk her dogs. And
I know ads are super annoying, but I've actually never downloaded an ad blocker because sometimes they come in clutch when I'm online shopping.
Jameer was there and heard for 3 hours.
Shannon seemed distraught, almost broken, and investigators were inclined to believe her and were even wondering if they had the right suspect. So they ordered a test to be done on Shannon to determine if what she said actually happened. When the results came out, they realized Shannon was not telling the truth. While she had bruises all over her body that showed signs of a struggle, the test came back negative. Jermier had not had his way with Shannon at all. But that wasn't all. Investigators also looked into where Jermier was on the day Shannon claimed the incident happened. It turned out he was miles away in the opposite direction.
He was in Greensboro when he was supposed to be in her at 2:30 in the morning in Charlotte.
He has a receipt that he was in Greensboro at McDonald's.
In February 2010, 3 years after the chilling events of January 4th, Shannon's trial began. The prosecutor painted Shannon as the obsessed ex-lover who couldn't move on. They told the court that seeing Jermier happy with someone else when he couldn't be happy with her sent Shannon into a rage, which led her to take the actions she took. The defense, on the other hand, painted Jermier as the obsessed lover who couldn't take no for an answer. Shannon took the stand and gave a really good testimony, so good that investigators almost believed her. Almost.
Shannon's testimony was almost a mirror image of the story that she gave in May of 2007. If you didn't have the proof, you might have believed her. She was convincing. If you ignored the facts, she was very convincing.
But ultimately, the jury didn't believe her. And on February 22, 2010, Shannon Crawley was found guilty of first-degree murder. Before sentencing, Danita's family had a chance to say their piece to Shannon, and her mom did not hold back.
I hope you rot hell. Because you took something from me. You had no right to do that. She didn't do anything. You shouldn't even know you.
Shannon Crawley was sentenced to life in prison without the option of parole. Hey, thank you for watching. Our deepest sympathies go to the family and friends of Danita Smith. What are your thoughts on this case? Do you know of other similar cases? Let me know in the comment section. And before you go, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that bell button. See you next time and stay safe.
Okay. So what y'all think? Exactly. That's a very dangerous individual. And she went deep with her shit to try to hide her involvement. My question is, you feel a ways, you feel like he played you all the things. You go to his church, he walks in with Shannon. I mean with Danita. Why go after Danita? Why not go after why not go after him? I mean, when I say him, why not go after uh, the man who jilted you, the man who caused you to have to give up your child? He's the one who hurt you. Why not hurt her? No, he is not in jail. They didn't even implicate him in any way. They believed that she was just a stalker. He ain't. And she left 3 kids behind. I'm trying to see. A lot of people have covered this story, but recently I had actually done a search on Google trying to see what happened when it came to her. And what ended up happening, that's not the right one. I actually had found a GoFundMe. Um, let's see. Nope, the only thing that came up, she's serving life in prison. But I had actually found the GoFundMe um, after looking her up. And she had developed cancer. Hold on, I wanted to try to find it if I could. In that story, 2 kids was mentioned. That's how I knew she had kids, but let's see. Either it's spelled different or something. Let me go to GoFundMe and search in there. Maybe they took it down. I don't recall how much money, if any, had been raised, but I saw that there was a GoFundMe and that she had actually um, she had cancer and she talked about her life thereafter. I want to say she even still maintained her innocence, um, but that's what made brought this story back into my memory. When I saw that, something made me search her. I think I saw it on YouTube again, and it made me search her. When I look back, I mean, she's been covered on Snap. She's been covered a lot of places. That could be the truth. Cancer. Yeah, but still, it's like, girl, you have everything to lose, and who should be most important to you is your kid. You didn't have to get rid of the baby if you didn't want to. That's probably what took her there. So, anyway, I mean, I don't really have any final thoughts with this. Let me look again. I was trying to see. Yeah, the only thing that's really coming up is the stories of her and people covering her. Um, Okay, she's still an inmate. Murder, first degree. Oh, let me pull this up. Can y'all see it? No, hold on. I was trying to look for some more information. Okay, I couldn't find anything on GoFundMe. 45-year-old who was listed as being under the supervision of the Department of Corrections. She was sentenced in Wake County. She was listed on the State Department of Corrections website below in relation to the criminal offense of M, first degree, on Monday, February 22, 2010. So she's been in there 15 years. To see more detailed information on this person, including any new custody statuses, criminal offenses, or time served in prison or under the state supervision, follow the official Department of Corrections link. So just, it probably can drive directions for sources about this information out. I guess they really don't have anything new. I knocked it off of here. I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me see. So yeah, there's no new information, but there are quite a few people who covered it. And I guess that's just that on that. So her kids gotta grow up without a mom. I mean, I don't understand why it was that important to her. I mean, okay, let's look at this. Oh crap, y'all ain't even seeing it. Hold on. Okay, well, I jumped over here because I thought they
Make sure y'all thank her specifically in the comments. Okay, so in the year 2004 in Greensboro, North Carolina, Shannon works as a 911 operator at a police station. Now, while she should have been saving people's lives, she actually came across this dude. His name was Jeremiah Stroud. And they kind of, had a thing for each other. But there was one problem. Jameer was engaged. He was engaged to Danita Smith. I can imagine their meeting was sort of like this. Hey, what's up, girl? I kind of like you, and I would like to get to know you, just I think you're cool. Listen, baby, I like you too, but I got a fiance.
Child. Hold on, y'all, because I had just seen something that said that she had passed away. So I was looking and it um let me go back. What happened to Shannon? Probably Shannon to break up and go their separate ways. GHRISMD. I don't know. Anyway, guys, I had seen something that said she passed away, and it was with this video. But when we went into the video,
This is part 3 of the true crime case of 25-year-old graduate student Danita Smith, who was murdered and told her coworker that she was in fear for her life of this case on my Black True Crime podcast, the Lost Crimes Library podcast. And make sure to hit the follow button because next week I'll be posting 3 more parts about the case of Danita Smith. This is part 3 of the true crime case of 25.
I don't want to go through all of that. I was trying to see where it says she had passed away. Okay, let's go up here. By me coming in this way, it ain't no telling when that was posted.
In the fall of 1977, human remains were discovered in a vacant lot in Goose Creek.
Anyway, guys, that's my presentation for today. Thank you so very much for taking the time to come check it out. I know this is something new on my channel. Hopefully we will have an audience grow. These videos I plan to do once a week on True Crime Tuesday. On Thursday, we will have the Eviction 2 videos that go up, and also on Saturday. So thank you guys so very much. I will have a pre-record tonight for our regular commentary. So stay tuned for that. I hope to see you guys there. And I will definitely see you guys in the next video. Thank you and bye.
7 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringed.